To the Secretary General of the Association of Caribbean States, Ambassador Dr. June Suma, Deputy Principal of the St. Augustine Campus, Professor Indar Ramnarayan, Program Manager for Culture and Community Development of the CARICOM Secretariat, Dr. Hilary Brown, Director of the UWI Centre for Reparations Research, and our keynote speaker, Professor Vereen Shepard, welcome. Campus Librarian, Mr. Frank Sudin, Campus Bursar, Mrs. Andrea Taylor-Hanna, Mrs. Erica Williams-Cornell, all panelists, deans, heads of units, and I'd like to recognize our new director of the School of Graduate Studies and Research, Professor Sitaraman, other specially invited guests, colleagues, students, visitors, members of the media. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. 75 years ago, in the first half of the 20th century, a brilliant young scholar from Trinidad and Tobago called Eric Williams published the book Capitalism and Slavery. And around the world this year, in countries like Britain and in the United States, there are commemorative activities marking the 75th anniversary of this publication. Just as we are here at the University of West Indies over the next 2 days. Given the impact and significance of this seminal publication, it is my honor and privilege to speak on this auspicious occasion. More so, as Dr. Eric Williams has been a part of the history of the St. Augustine Campus from inception, since Lord Hales, Governor General of the then West Indies Federation, formally handed over the Imperial College of Tropical Agriculture to the University College of the West Indies at Queen's Hall in Port of Spain, and that was on October 12, 1960. Significantly, he served as the first and only Pro-Chancellor of the University of the West Indies, and was instrumental, as were other prime ministers at the time, in setting the current framework for the University of the West Indies, while being a strong advocate for the state, playing a significant role in supporting the UWI. That line was actually meant for any minister who would be sitting in the audience. You're supposed to laugh at that, but sorry. So this UWI Symposium has gathered scholars, intellectuals, corporate interest groups, artists, and activists with the purpose of examining the impact of Eric Williams and his work on the contemporary Caribbean and the wider world. It provides us with an opportunity to discuss his legacy with the next generation of Caribbean leaders and intellectuals. This body of work is certainly culturally important, not just to Caribbean students, but is part of the knowledge base of civilization as we know it. Indeed, World War II was just 1 year away from ending, and the future first Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago was just a 33-year-old cocksure intellectual facing down racism and the challenge of being a poor colonial academic in a war-torn, quote-unquote, mother country. Now, Dr. Heather Cato, who, as you know, is our Dean of Faculty of Humanities and Education, chair of the ceremonies this morning, was speaking on a panel at the 2019 Bocas Lit Festival, and she referred to Dr. Eric Williams as, and I quote, the ultimate scholar activist. Author Carol Phillips, at that same Bocas Lit panel discussion, goes even further, asserting that even more than an activist, Eric Williams was a visionary. They are both correct. Eric Williams based his book on his thesis for a doctorate at Oxford University, a dissertation that focused on the economic aspects of the abolition of the slave trade and West Indian slavery. He forcefully argued that the abolition of slavery was driven, as was slavery itself, by a profit motive and not, as was the prevailing thought at the time, motivated by humanitarian considerations, a concept that was promulgated by some of his professors at Oxford. Significantly, one professor, Reginald Copeland, no relative of mine. This was a groundbreaking work, and he surely must have known that it would cause a furor as it did. Now, based on what we know of his personality, Dr. Eric Williams was not one to back down from a fight or back away from starting one. Indeed, Capitalism and Slavery ignited scholarly debate and discussion for decades. That's why we're here today. I'm not sure, though, that Dr. Williams would have anticipated that it would continue to be the foundation for university studies of imperialism and economic development to this very day. Yet, as historian and Professor Emerita Bridget Burton has stated, and I'm quoting here, unquestionably, capitalism and slavery means that Williams will always be correctly regarded as one of the great pathfinders of Caribbean historiography. Just 4 years after the 1944 publication of this book, Dr. Eric Williams returned to Trinidad and Tobago and changed the trajectory of this country and its people. 7 generations after the first publication of Capitalism and Slavery, it remains as critically important that the scholarly debate continues and enriches the minds and thoughts of future leaders. So, ladies and gentlemen, this symposium would not be possible if not for some key collaborations. In this regard, I wish to thank the CARICOM Reparations Commission for their collaboration with the UWI Centre for Reparation Research. I also want to specifically recognize the Faculty of Humanities and Education here at the St. Augustine Campus, led by Dean Dr. Heather Cato, and her team across the campuses for all their work in spearheading this symposium. I'd like to thank you, and I wish you a very productive symposium. Good morning.